Hey, and welcome to this video. My name is Nina, and today we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different to what we're usually doing, because today we're going to talk about the coats that I've been using on this island and how I make them look natural. Now, I have actually gotten quite a few questions on, hey, can I get the creator code for this little design? And also, how do you make your island look so natural with the codes especially? So I thought today I would just show you my codes and explain a little bit on how I use them. So to start off, let me actually just pull up my design code so that we can get an overview of all the codes that I'm using. Now, I am very thankful that we finally have more like 100 design slots. All of the codes that I will be talking about today will be in my description box, just like for any other video. So I have actually gotten quite a few questions before I updated my custom design credits, because I try to only share my codes whenever I'm happy with my selection and I don't need to update them again and again because it is quite time consuming, and I just wanted to share the final set of codes Also, if you are creator of these, please let me know in the comments down below or just hit me up on my socials and I will make sure to credit you the way that you prefer me to. Yeah, so this is an overview of all the codes that I have been using on my island. I did not fill up all of them. As you can see, I deleted some throughout and exchanged them, and I have not been using all of them, so I haven't been using these two, but I will dive into that whenever we get to it. So yeah, let me just start off and show you the first custom designs and how I use them on my island. So this island specifically has an enchanted fairy forest theme, and I wanted it to feel very, very natural. So that my initial plan was that you would step through a fence from behind your garden, and then you would enter a forest that has been forgotten and enchanted. Therefore, I wanted my design codes to display the whole wild and untouched feel. So it didn't feel right with me to just go straight in with a whole 9-slot the path trademark version or the in-game pathing, because that would feel too official. So for this island, I actually decided to not create an actual path. So I decided to go for this grassy path. You can definitely make it work with only the 9 tiles, or you can only do 4 tiles, whatever you need. But I also downloaded the 1 single tile pathings just to get a bit more variety, especially if I'm trying to make it look natural. I don't want patterns to be repeated. And I also downloaded this little 1 single tile that matches the grass path. And I just use that very sporadically. So I started in my entrance, I'm using even less pathing than on most of the parts of my island. So I do have some patches of pathing. If you look down, you can see that I have quite a big blob right here. But I mainly just tend to go for blobs and then scatter dropped items, flowers and weeds throughout so that it feels very natural. And then I also like to incorporate and mix and match it with some other designs. And one of the codes, or 3 of the codes that I like to mix and match with these and mix in, are these 3 stone patterns, which I really like. There are quite a few more, and I do also have this big one, which I don't use too often because it's big. And when I like to scatter them about, I still like the idea of having a lot of green around the tile. There's still a lot of see-through pixels around it. Yeah, and I think that just goes very well with the natural theme, and also because I use a lot of stone bridges and the natural inclines also have that stone element to them. So I really, really enjoy how those tie that whole vibe in. And then to finish off this upper section, I also downloaded this 4-tile version that looks like a huge log or tree stump And I like to use these 4-tile paths to go under mush parasols or like the nuptial bell, stuff like that, because it feels a lot more grounded. Now on this island, I haven't found a place to really make it work because I feel like it's a bit too dark, and I tend to go for some other 4-slot tiles that I will show you in just a bit. But it's definitely a great coat, especially if you're going for a natural theme or like a forest core. Then one last element of like actual pathing, if you will, are these little wooden planks. I really like this coat because it feels very whimsical, which goes perfectly with my theme, and it also ties in the little white flowers that I scattered about throughout my entire island. So I really like that very natural, whimsical, cutesy touch, if you will. Now for all the leaves and flower coats, I definitely have my favorites, which you will see so many times scattered throughout my island, which I like to do to have a reoccurring theme and also tie everything together, but still make it feel like there's variety in my pathing and there's different flower types, just like you would have in nature. So my favorite ones are probably these white little flowers and the clover design. I think they just go very well with the pathing itself that I use with this grass path, because both of them tie in different things. You can see that in this corner specifically very well, just because the actual grass pathing that I'm using also has the tiny little white or like beigey yellow flowers that just look like white flowers, and they go very well with the actual white flower coat. And the little clovers also tie in with the weeds that I use on my island, because if you know me, I'm very meticulous with my weed placement. So I really like to incorporate the little clovers and these green splotches of grass, but they go especially well with the clovers because they have quite similar color scheme but are still very subtle. Then another coat I really like to use is this little leafy pattern, because it has, I think, very much exactly the same colors as the leaf piles and my grass pathing that I'm using. So I think that just ties the whole thing together, and I really like to place these underneath items that are a bit smaller so that it just fills out the entire slot, because I can't have empty tiles on my island. I just can't do that. So I think that's a very nice way to stay very subtle but still give it a bit of texture, and I also really like how that looks underneath the green leaf piles. Then the next coat that I would like to talk about are these gorgeous blue flowers. I just went with these blue flowers because I really like that they incorporated the blue and the purple, which are the main or like the primary colors on my island, and you will see them scattered about all over my island, just because whenever I don't want to use an actual blue flower or I want to place some things down somewhere so I can't use a flower in a specific area and I still want to bring in the blue, that's my way to go. Another way to pop in some blue are these little blue mushrooms, which I really like. And here you can actually see a place where I use them very close together. So you have the blue little flowers underneath the butterfly and the wild lock bench and my mum cushion. And then you also have the blue little mushrooms underneath the wild lock bench, and then just as is next to the little tree, but stay very subtle again. As you can see, subtle is a very common theme on my island. I like to have my coats very subtle so that they don't take away from the actual designs, but they also add something to the area. And then I also have two designs that are quite similar, which are two more additions to my like white very subtle flowers, which is this little coat, and then we also have this one, and they are actually from the same creator. The only reason why I didn't put them next to each other is because I'm not that organized. I have to be honest, I do not use them as often as I use the just plain white flowers, because they are tinted with purple and a bluish theme, which is quite nice. They are super pretty on my island. I actually put them underneath this little birdhouse, for example. They are a bit denser than the other white flowers, which is why I sometimes find it hard to incorporate them. So I like to mainly use them underneath some items to give a bit more texture and width kind of, because for example this birdhouse has a quite thin stand, so I like to put this coat underneath to just fill up the space a little bit better. And then for the last flower coat, I have this little, I like to say lavender. It's not lavender, it's just purple flowers, but I think they are also one of these coats that can fill up a slot without having an item on top. And you can also still place items on top of them very nicely. I especially really like this mush log on top of it because it also has the purple, and it just, yeah, I just have them everywhere on my island. Now, one custom design or custom design style in specific are these little flower circles. I have had them on all of my islands because whenever you put down a flower circle and you put an item on top that is either circular or has like a thinner base, like for example this little mush platform, it just grounds the element very nicely, I think, and it almost looks like the item that you put there is supposed to be there because over time the flowers started to grow around it. Or you can even use it in a very sophisticated way if you are a more city core island or a small village or something like that. I think that works very well too, and I think it's also one of those great space fillers, but it just looks a bit more dedicated than leaf or flower coats. Another one of my favorites are these paw prints. Now, I did use them, I think, on probably any of my islands, but I recently exchanged them for the green ones. I'm not sure if they will stay that way because I had them in the dark brown before, and I also had them in a light brown, I think. And I just like to scatter them about and break up my pathing as well, just because it looks very cute and it adds a little touch of lived-inness, if that's a word. Another great coat I actually use way too few times, I believe, in my builds is this very cute twig design. I really adore how whimsical this feels. It's a very full and busy design though, so it doesn't come into play into too many places. But I also think it's very versatile, so I think it would also look great on beaches or just to break up pathing again. Here I actually have that placed underneath this little shovel. For this island, I went with a way more colorful and whimsical theme than I would usually do, so I also tried to challenge myself to incorporate some more busy and whimsical and very bright designs. And I found this very cute opal design, which there are quite a few options that you have, and I really enjoy dropping items on top or dropping star fragments on top of that because it just gives it a very magical touch, and it also draws in the blues and the pinks, which I also really adore. Then two other codes that you will see and have probably seen all throughout my island. The first one being this little log or tree stump. I actually have that in my museum area twice, which is, I think, a great example for how you can use that. First, I have this to the right with the little star fragment dropped onto it, which I think is a very cute touch. I also really adore dropping little mushrooms on top of it. And then to the left, we also have the little common butterfly model placed on top of the design, which I also think is a very cute touch. And then the second design that I really overuse actually is the little water puddle. I will not even give you an in-depth shot for that. I will just walk through my island and you will see that in way too many places. I use that everywhere just because it just ties in the blues on my island, and I really have a bunch of waterscaping on my island, and I also like to include many little decoy ducks, and I adore how they look whenever you place them on top of the little water puddles. It's also a great design to layer underneath wooden or tin buckets, but I just use them everywhere. And then I have two more magic stone patterns, if you will. So I have this turquoise bluish one, and then I also have this purple pinky one, which up until now I have only used in my star shrine build, which I have only shown you in my island update video. And these magic stones are a bit more muted, so I really like how they look. And now, while I'm actually standing here, let me just continue with this 4-tile flower code, Now, I really adore this coat and I use that under so many items. I think it's a great way to either, like I did here, layer on top of the in-game paths if you do like a little circle and you round off the corners. I just think it looks very nice and it adds a little pop of texture and detail without being too over the top. I think that's very nice and it still looks quite natural. And then let's actually just move on to this little 4-tile blanket, which I also use the heck out of. It's so amazing. I think it looks very polished and it feels like that it's made out of satin in a way, and it's very detailed. I really adore this, and it's also great for layering over the edges of an actual blanket. So I think it's a great addition for that. And now let's actually move on with this little single blanket, which I think I haven't changed for my last 2 islands. I just love this so much. It looks very sophisticated, but still, since it looks like it was crocheted, I think it still looks natural, like as natural as a blanket can look. But I just think it's a very cute custom design. And then moving on with another 4-tile blanket coat, I have this diagonal rug, which has become such a big trend since we got the extra 50 design slots. So this one is also great for layering, and it has these cute little yellow flower details all around the edges, and there are also quite a few options for middle pieces, so you can also just use that as a single rug, but I always like to layer my rugs. And yeah, and then for the last multi-tile rug, I have this 2-tile rug, which I really like to use in front of my villager houses, for example, or when I want to do a tiny cliff picnic or reading nook or something like that. I think that's a very cute addition, and it just again adds a little more of the whole lived-in vibe. Now, next up, we also have these 2, which are supposed to be for I think either a little pumpkin patch or like vegetable patches, or they can also look quite cute if you put them underneath the sleigh or a garden wagon, but I haven't used them up until now, and I did actually overwrite one of the designs, so I won't be using any of these. Another really adorable coat that I have is this little tissue, or I believe this is supposed to be a little napkin or tissue. I think this is one of the designs that I like to scatter about to just add some details to certain areas. Yeah, I can't say much about it. It's just a very adorable little custom design. Then another coat that I have not yet used, or at least I couldn't find it, is this wild rose coat. I think it's such a beautiful coat. I just haven't found the right place to make it work. I believe I will probably use that for like a flower stall, and I think this could also look very cute on a lampshade or something like that. And now to just continue the whole blanket pattern, this will be a bit all over the place because I have them all throughout, because I tend to find them whenever I look for other coats as well. So I have many blanket coats, which I really like to use for either just straight blankets or on cushions, on Zen cushions, on wooden stools and stuff. So whenever I do look for a blanket design, except for when it's like a very special one that I look for and I don't care if I will use it in another spot on my island, I like to make sure that I can use that in many different ways and on many different items, so that I can again justify that I have that many, and it just adds a lot of variety, I believe. And all of the blanket coats are just great to use on like wooden stools. Now, some of these coats are actually by the same creator, and here you can actually see the 2 more natural fabrics right next to each other. So I have this greener one, and then I have the Zen cushion customized. And then another custom design that I have used to death on this island is this adorable striped blue custom design. It looks like there was a little bouquet of flowers popped onto the cushion, and I also have this beautiful flower bouquet coat as well, so they just work super well together. And then for the last textile, actually finally, I have this bunny custom design, which I don't think I have used up until now on this island too, apart from on a signpost that I used for Wade's little cuddle area that I designed off camera. Now the only things that we have regarding rugs are these very beautiful tassels. I have these two variations. I mostly tend to go for these ones, but I have both of them because, for example, if I want to layer a certain blanket with this round rug that I showed you earlier, that is kind of less apparent than if I would use the other fringes, just because it looks very similar to the fringes on the round rug. So I really appreciate using these two. And now moving on to some more of those filler coats that I showed you earlier. So I already talked about the little bouquet, but then I also have these two book coats, which I adore so much and I really overuse on this island too. And I had them on my previous island as well. And then moving on to some more stones or cobblestones, we have this little stone pattern, which is from the same creator that I also use my leaves from. Yeah, I think that's also a very great addition to just break up the pathing again. And then I have 3 more white cobblestone designs, and I have used them in the more populated parts of my island, which are, for example, the villager neighborhood and my fairy castle. And now we only have some of the codes left that I do not use too often. So starting off, we have this little school sign, which I used for the school on my island. So I created this little fairy school and I wanted to have a little sign for it. Now this is quite a warm copper bronzy tone, so it does not fit in with my island too well, but it was one of the best designs that I could find via the criteria search in my custom panel thingy. Now next up we have this little letter design, which I apparently haven't even used on my island. I did use another letter customization for the scattered papers on my previous island, but it was a brown tone and it didn't fit in very nicely, so I exchanged it for this one. And I'm very sure that I will use that at some point in my village. And then we also have this tatered cloth, which I only used in one place so far, which is this little picnic space, because it kind of goes well with the brown wrapping paper. When I found this bread coat, I thought it would be such a cute addition to add the bread coat and the tatered cloth so that it looks like the bread was once wrapped in the tatered cloth. And then I still have 3 custom designs that I have not yet talked about, which are these castle designs. I used them for my fairy castle, and I think they are so great because they were designed to match the blue silo customization, so you can see them peeping through in the back. We have the silos that have this dark brick pattern, and then I also customized some simple panels with the window version and another version, and one of them I didn't even use, just to make the castle feel a bit bigger. So that's definitely such a great design. Then sticking with the buildings, I actually have a couple of designs. So first I have this blue paint panel, which actually also included a little garden shed or like little tiny stable. And to go with my theme, I decided to go with this white and blue stable. And to create the illusion that this was actually a stable, I customized some simple panels to layer behind some stalls and face cutout standees. And for the stores, I actually used this very cute roof tile, which is also blue, and it goes very well with the other designs, and it was actually by the same creator, so you can just download all of them. And then staying in this area, I also downloaded this white wooden plank design, which I used for this pier, kind of leading onto this platform where you have this cute little lookout over a enchanted fairy forest, which is also one of my latest speed builds up on my channel, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. We also have this very adorable little flower pattern, which I think you could also incorporate onto like some seed bags or some cushions even, because I think it's just very adorable. And I decided to customize this little signpost with it just because I didn't really know what to put here, and there wasn't a lookout sign that I liked or that fit my color scheme, and I think this just tied the whole area together on the white wooden paint shop sign. And then last but not least, I have my island flag, which I actually designed myself and have used on this and my previous island because I think it still goes very well with my color scheme, and it ties in some pastel, very soft blues, purples and greens. And then since my island is called Drops because I love the rain, I decided to do this little ripple effect and some raindrops. I'm not a pixel artist, obviously, so please don't come for me, but I tried my best and I think it turned out very cute. And yeah, so that's actually all of my codes. I really hope I could give you an insight on how I use them and maybe give you some inspo on how to make your island look a lot more natural and maybe whimsical if you're going for that theme. If not, I still hope you enjoyed this video and could use some of the codes. All of them again will be linked down in the description box below. If not, if you find any, please let me know. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. And yeah, take care of yourself until next time, and bye bye.